As a wedding planner, there are a lot of systems and processes in your business that you need to master. But I believe the most important process in your wedding planning business is actually your onboarding process, how you welcome new customers into the fabric, into the ecosystem of your business. And inside this video, I'm gonna walk you through some simple goals that your onboarding process should have for welcoming new clients into your wedding planning business. Hey friend, welcome back to my channel. I'm Candace Coppola, business coach for wedding pros, your biz bestie. And in today's video, like I mentioned, we're gonna be talking all about the onboarding phase, why I think it's the most important part of the process in working with your clients, and what goals you can have around this process to make sure that every customer you onboard, you absolutely nail their onboarding experience. So first, let's start with why is the onboarding process so important? Well, I don't need to tell you that first impressions are literally everything. You know this already. You know that first impressions really matter. And I have no doubt that you clearly made a great first impression because this client has hired you. But they're going from a prospect, a lead, into a customer. And your onboarding phase needs to treat them differently than a prospect and needs to provide an incredible, amazing first impression as a new customer. Next, your onboarding phase, it sets the tone for what your planning process is going to be like for the rest of the time you guys are together. My husband has this saying, start wrong, end wrong. So if you start wrong, you're likely gonna end wrong. And we don't want that. We wanna start off on the right foot with your customers, and we wanna set the tone for what this whole planning experience is gonna be like going forward. So the onboarding phase is this opportunity you have to set an incredible experience for your client and set the tone going forward. Next, and finally, it's a repeatable process. So the reason why the onboarding phase is critical and important is because it's a process that everybody goes through. Every new customer has to be onboarded into the fabric of your business. And so you need a repeatable process that anybody in your business can do, because maybe someday you'll have a team, if you don't already, who you might delegate some of these tasks to. But aside from that, you want every customer to have the same luxurious, amazing experience being welcomed into the fabric or into the ecosystem of your business. And so your onboarding process is a repeatable one, and because every single customer moves through it, you need to have a solid, thoughtful, and strategic onboarding experience for your wedding planning clients. Now let's talk about the goals we want your onboarding experience to have. I think goals when we're building strategy in our business are so important. In fact, I never create a strategy without understanding what I want that strategy to do. So for instance, I'm creating an onboarding strategy. What are my goals? What do I want this to achieve? What do I want people to have or do while they're experiencing this process? I want you to take away from this video a couple of things. But the first is that any process you create in your business needs to have goals, needs to start with the results you want it to achieve. And then what you can do is sort of build it with the end in mind. So you know what results you want. Now all you need to do is figure out what puzzle pieces fit to get us to those end results. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So your onboarding process needs to have a series of goals, and the first is to affirm the purchase. Listen, your customer, they just spent a buttload of money on your services. This could be the very first time where they've ever spent this amount of money on a service. And so you need to affirm that purchase. And what I mean by that is you want them to feel so good about the money they just spent with you. You want them to be like, that was the best money we've spent since, I don't know, my last Gucci bag. Like that I would spend that 10 times over. We need your onboarding process to affirm the purchase, and we have a short window to do this. We don't have a lot of time. I don't know about you, but you can often think back to scenarios that you've had as a customer where You had this great sales process. They were responsive, you felt really good, well taken care of, and then once you bought, it wasn't that great. We don't want that. And that's why affirming the purchase is also so critical. You keep that sales energy that we often have alive at the very beginning stages of working with your client. So I need you to create a process that affirms your customer's purchase, makes them feel really, 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 really good about working with you. Like, they would never dream of working with anybody else. And trust me when I tell you, if you do this will pay dividends in the days and the weeks and even the months, years to come in working with this customer. Trust me, I have enough experience to know that if you can affirm someone's purchase early on, you will turn them into a raving fan, and any mistakes that might pop up along the way, little things, they're usually like, oh, but she's the best. We won't really look at that mistake she made. We'll just forget about that. She's human. All right, the next goal that your onboarding process needs to have is a clear pathway that reduces overwhelm. You need to create for your wedding planning clients a clear pathway that reduces any overwhelm and any anxiety they might feel in these beginning stages of working with you. And no matter who you are, everyone wants to know what the next step is. Think about like your favorite TV show that you love to watch. You love when there's a little spoiler, like on the next episode of General Hospital. Girl, I live for that. I live for those spoilers. Spoilers are usually always better than the actual episode, but anyway, that's a story for another day. We all love to know what comes next. We all love a timeline. We all love a next step. And so once a client books with you, there should be a clear pathway of what they should be doing next and what happens next as your work begins to commence. I also want you to know that they want to get right into planning their wedding. Like, girl, they just gave you all this money and they want to get into it. Like, show me what we're doing. They need a quick win, an instant gratification. So that's something for you to also think about as you build out your onboarding experience. What can you give them to do that they'll feel really good about? Now, when a customer understands what happens next in their journey, they're more likely to also trust you and defer to you. And as a wedding planner, you know that you need the client's trust and you need the space to be able to lead the pack, the vendor team, the couple, their parents, and whoever else is involved in this shindig. You need to be the leader. So if you can create a clear pathway that reduces overwhelm, that turns you into the guide, and that means that you're able to lead the client better throughout the process. A clear pathway also puts you in charge. And let me tell you something, you always want to be in charge. You never want to hand over the keys. The moment you lose control of the planning process, you will regret it. The moment the client feels like you're not doing your job, or they need to be up underneath you, or why are they 2 steps ahead of you, the moment you lose control, you give away the keys, your life is going to get very challenging. Take it from me, your business coach, because I have lost the keys a couple of times and I've lived to tell the tale for sure, but it hasn't been pretty. I want you to make sure that you maintain control of the planning process from start to finish. If you'd like a more in-depth video on how to not give away the keys and how to maintain control, comment below, let me know below, and I'll definitely look into creating that for you guys if enough of you want to see it. So we need to create that clear pathway that reduces overwhelm. We don't want them to have any anxiety or any questions about what happens next. Next, you want to make sure your onboarding experience communicates your boundaries and sets realistic, clear expectations. Let me re-say this. It needs to communicate your boundaries. Like, girl, I'm not answering your text at 11 p.m. I am not listening to a 20-minute voicemail. I will not answer your email in 5 minutes. You need to set boundaries for your business, and a good onboarding experience is going to communicate those boundaries right from the get-go. It's also going to set realistic and reasonable expectations. I believe that most client problems can be avoided with clear communication, boundaries, and reasonable expectations. People are pretty reasonable. I mean, occasionally you know what I'm talking about. You get your person who is not reasonable, especially in wedding planning, but most people are reasonable. If you give them a reasonable expectation like, hey, your first round budget will be delivered in 3 weeks, they know to not be on you about it. And they know that you're working on it and then it'll be delivered on this date, and they have their expectations set. So your onboarding experience should also communicate boundaries and set expectations for your clients. Now, I just want to pause here for a second because you might be wondering, can my boundaries ever change? The answer is absolutely. When I started my business as a 26-year-old single person, I wasn't the person I am today. I'm a 41-year-old, likes to go to bed at 8:30. I hate texting. I'm a totally different person. I use myself as a horrible example to share with you that boundaries can change because your life changes. As your life grows and things in your life change, you may not always be available at a certain time or be able to communicate in a certain way. And listen, that's fine. Your boundaries can change. But here's the thing. You need to communicate those changes. As long as you communicate those changes and set expectations, you're good to go. All right, moving on to our next goal, gathering important information. Your onboarding experience needs to set you up for success. So not everything is centered around the client. We're going to set our boundaries, and we're also going to gather important information that helps us do our job. And let me be clear, information is your job. As a wedding planner, you are like the information wizard. You need all the information all the time. And so in the onboarding phase, you need to get up to speed. Not everybody's going to come to you with a clean palette, a clean slate. They may have already hired vendors, spent money, made mistakes. We need to just get a bird's eye view of everything and zero in on some things that might need our attention. And so you need to use this time to get as much information as possible. So consider what information you need to kickstart the planning process, maybe even based individually on the service levels that people hire you for. Finally, the last goal that your onboarding process needs to have, this phase of the client journey, is it's got to surprise and delight. If you've never heard this phrase before, a surprise and delight is exactly what you would expect. It's something that was unexpected and delightful. And I believe that our entire wedding planning process should have elements of surprise and delight in it. But your onboarding phase should definitely surprise and delight your clients. It should create a moment or a memory. It should give them something unexpected, something special. And this doesn't always have to be like a gift. It can be an extra service that they of course purchased, they just don't know they did, and you're surprising them with it. It's just like one example, but it should surprise and delight. Now, when somebody surprises and delights us, it creates this energy, this connection. We feel warm and fuzzy inside and good about it. That's what you want. And you want those connection points, by the way, throughout the entire planning process. So those are the 5 goals that your onboarding experience needs to have with your new planning clients. I would love to hear your feedback below. Are there any that you're currently doing, any that you're going to implement? Tell me in the comments. Also, if you've liked this video, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up so I know to create more content like this for you. Lastly, I want to let you know that inside my shop, the Candace Coppola shop, I have an entire plug and play onboarding playbook that you can purchase for your wedding planning business. So if everything that I've said here today is resonating with you and you're like, girl, yes, but just give me the process, I got you. It's over in the shop. I've also included here a link inside the description box so you can just click over and purchase it. But it is the new client onboarding playbook. And inside is a plug and play onboarding process for your planning business that you can implement today to check off all of these goals, all of these boxes, and make your onboarding experience amazing. So I hope you'll definitely go and check that out. All right, thanks so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next video.